In this video, we'll be focusing on gear to carry with you on an ice climbing day with me. It's important we have the right gear when we're ice climbing because obviously environmental factors are very unforgiving and pretty harsh. It can be pretty cold out there, and the gear we carry both on our harness and in our backpack can really dictate how much fun we have out there and how successful we'll be. So let's get started. To begin with, the harness itself wants to be pretty lightweight and something that'll fit underneath a lot of layers. We'll have a lot of clothing on through our day, and you want to have the gear loops and especially the little loops for your ice clippers all centered on your hips and fitting well with a bunch of clothing on. So for me, the ice clippers go just behind my hip bones right here, just beyond kind of center, and the gear loops in front of that are nice and centered on my harness as well. Belay loops in the center. It's a pretty lightweight harness, the Sitta. It's about 280 grams or something, so very lightweight, very compact. It packs well, and if we're going to carry it a long ways with all this other gear that we're going to be having with us, it'll kind of disappear inside the pack. On the harness, a minimum of 3 locking carabiners, preferably large carabiners that have a large gate opening, and pretty lightweight. So this Petzl Attaché 3D is a good example. And then Reverso 4 allows us to both belay a leader and belay from the top as well, which is kind of nice. Some sort of tether for rappelling, this would be nice. This is a 4-foot runner made of aramid fiber, so it's very stiff and lightweight. It can be used as a runner on our climb, both for building anchors and placing protection, slinging around trees, those sorts of things, as well as building a tether for us on our harnesses for rappelling. A non-locker on that. Then we have a couple additional non-locking carabiners too, just to clip on either things to our pack or things on our harness, extra pair of gloves, those sorts of things. The most specific ice gear will be something like this Petzl V-Link, a bungee tether for our ice tool so we don't drop a tool either off the cliff into some place we don't want to lose it or on somebody else for cragging. So that's important. And then also these Petzl carry tools, which will allow us to rack ice screws, and they're interchangeable. They can come on and off the harness as we need them to, but we want to have 2 of those for ice climbing days, or at least 1 at the very minimum. All right, we'll leave that off for now. If you're going to have something else besides the 4-footer for a tether, you could look at either a nylon 4-foot runner, a PAS, or even something very specific and a little heavier like the Petzl Dual Connect Adjust. Those would all be good options. Additionally, we'll have some sort of assisted locking device. And for the winter, when ropes are icy or wet, maybe both, is the BD Pilot or ClickUp, Alpine Smart, those sorts of devices that work on mechanical locking function and not so much a camming function like a Gree-Gree. A little bit lighter and more workable with ropes that are frozen, a bit more predictable. Additionally, we're going to look at our glove choice very carefully. A good kind of all-around middle-of-the-road option is something like the BD Punisher. Very warm, so this is more of like your kind of all-around belay glove and also climbing more moderate things. And then something also like the BD Terminator, which is very lightweight, very small, still insulated and waterproof, but much better dexterity for climbing harder routes or hanging on those tools a little bit longer. And having a multitude of gloves per day is really important. At least 3 pairs of gloves every day is kind of something to shoot for. So probably a couple smaller sendier pairs and then a larger pair of those BD Punishers perhaps. Okay, moving on, we have crampon choice. Looking for something that has a vertical front point. In this case, both these are mono points. This Petzl Lynx is adjustable to have dual points as well. A Dart one is an example of a dual point Petzl version of the Dart. Both are acceptable. Just looking for something that's very aggressive with the secondary teeth and the first one as well, and having a wire toe bail, none of this rubber toe bail strap sort of deal. You'll notice I've trimmed these straps very short to match my boots. That's also important to stop from creating tripping hazards out there. Speaking of boots, we have a few options here. If you're going to go with one boot for most days in the Northeast particularly, and just ice climbing in general where it is quite cold, something like this boot here, the Sportiva Batura, which is now the G5, or the Phantom Guide by Scarpa, would be a good all-around balance of both warmth and having some good dexterity for your feet and sensitivity. Full shank, very stiff, obviously a toe bail and a heel bail. And this one has a nice gaiter that incorporates keeping things nice and clean. Something like this boot is lighter weight, obviously, and less warm. So let's try and go Ice Cube. And it still does have a full toe bail and heel bail, very stiff boot, but not very warm. So for most days, ice climbing, unless maybe you're in Colorado or places where it's quite warm and sunny, this boot won't be enough. This is kind of a secondary option compared to that last boot we looked at. This boot, the G2 SM, is a lightweight double boot. They call it maybe a single and a half boot. It's actually a double boot, has a removable liner. This boot is also a good option for very cold days. So there'll be days in New England where you would want something like this. But for most days out, it's going to be a little bulky and feel a little bit cumbersome. Your sensitivity won't be as good, and the cuff is a lot higher, just a lot more bulk to deal with if you don't need something like that. Warmth-wise. Moving on to ice tools. Ice/mixed specific tools. These would be good options. My favorite, the Nomic by Petzl, or the BD Fusion. Both good tools, a lot of clearance in the shaft for steeper overhanging ice, and good grips. These tools, the Cork and the BD Cobra, are really great all-around tools if you're thinking about doing some more alpine climbing or lower angle ice climbing. They're more plungeable, they have an actual spike in the bottom, a little bit straighter, and also climb ice very well. A little bit less focus on the mixed climbing. Some micro spikes would be really sweet to have. They can make the approaches much safer and faster and easier on your body. And then some sort of trekking pole. This one is extendable, obviously, this way, but also collapsible. It gets quite small to go inside your backpack, so not just on the side, which is quite important actually if we're trying to climb all day with that in our packs. A helmet, of course, that's pretty foundational. You need that everyday ice climbing. To put all this stuff into, you'll want some sort of lightweight pack. A lot of days ice climbing will be actually climbing with our packs on. So this Blitz pack by Black Diamond could be a good option. There's a 28-liter version and a 20. This is the 20. So a little small for most days, probably every day, day in, day out, but a really nice option and lightweight option to be climbing with it for most of the day. So that's a cool little pack. A more all-around option for rock, alpine, ice, kind of everyday use would be this Patagonia Ascensionist 30-liter pack. Got some ice clipper loops here, and then also some bit more space, as well as still being pretty lightweight. So a good option there. Now, if you want to be leading with me during the day that we're out together, you'll need a few additional things, which are good to have. You'll need a cordelette, so some sort of longer cordelette there. You'll want a little prusik loop. This is a 13-inch 6mm cord by Sterling, a knife, a J snare, which is a V-thread tool, the best in the market. Very handy. You can do naked threads with that, which is putting the rope through the V-thread itself without wasting any cord. Super helpful. Having a pre-tied quadruple length sling that's in a quad formation is very nice. And this is a longer configuration than we have rock climbing because of the distance between the screws we want to place when anchoring. So this could also be 2 4-foot runners tied together. That works quite well. And then draws. Draws wise, we tend to go with more quick draws, ice climbing, because most of the protection will be ice screws, which you can clip like a bolt, and you can choose to put those almost anywhere in the ice that you feel is prudent. So we can, in general, have a much straighter fall line, plumb fall line with our rope. So we don't need as many 2-foot runners for ice climbing as we do rock climbing or alpine climbing. So there's about 10 there with the quick draws and about 2 more 2-footers. Okay. Also, you're going to need the really cool stuff called ice screws. A good variety of different lengths would be cool. These new aluminum screws, while not quite as durable as the older steel versions, are super light and they place very well and they're very, very sharp. So are really a nice tool. We'll want at least a couple of 13s, a few 16s, and then probably just 1 or 2 12s. You might have 10 to 12 ice screws altogether. Kind of half of those being 13s and 16s, or 13s and 17s, I guess, with the Petzl, and then just 1 or 2 longer screws for V-threads and anchoring. Okay, you can go a bit shorter if you want to and get a few 10 centimeters, but if you're just starting to lead, that probably won't be as necessary. So when you get to a point where you're ready for these, you'll know to get them. And then if you want to get to really desperate things, you get these little super stubbies from anicescrew.com. Jason Hurwitz has made these for me, and they're about between 6 and 7 centimeters long each. So if you want one, you probably want a bunch. And last but not least, something to put all these screws in so that when they're in our pack, they won't poke our stuff in our pack and get dull in the process. Okay. Hope you enjoyed the video. There'll be links to all the products below in the comments. If you liked the video, please subscribe. We'll see you next time.